to do your key work, your deep work, your CEO work, whatever you want to call it. Have that time as sacred on your calendar. Often we let employees interrupt, we let meetings interrupt, we let other vendors interrupt us. And those things happen. I understand that, but to have that be a possibility every single day, you're not clearing your mind. And that which references the less is more. You have to get rid of things in order to be able to think clearly.
Hey, welcome Levelin Up Nation. This is your host, Brigham Blackham. I'm so grateful to have Brandon Gano on today. We met back in Seattle with the Final Percent Network, and we've become fast friends. So grateful to have you on today. He is a business genius. I'm going to say that not just because he understands a harmonious framework, but he has helped multiple people absolutely crush their business dreams because of this framework. And we're going to get into the fundamentals of Harmonious today. And I highlighted fun because that's a huge part of doing this. You want to have fun while we're doing it. And we hope today that you're going to have a blast as we converse. So Brandon, welcome to Levelin Up. How are you doing today?
Brigham, fantastic. Thank you for having me. And I kind of want to leave right now because you said I'm a business genius and I don't want to ruin that for people. So can I leave and you do the rest?
Oh, you're hilarious. Okay. So I was just reading a book by Robin Sharma, and he said, hey, I'm not a guru, but then he defined the word guru. He's like, I guess I am. Guru is to dispel darkness. Gu is to dispel in Sanskrit, and darkness is that ru. And I thought that was so appropriate because sometimes we think, oh, I'm not the expert, but you are an expert. And the only way to become the expert is to be an expert for a long time and to do it consistently. And you dispel that darkness long enough for enough people and you become a guru. So I think you're a guru, and I'll let you live into that truth. You'll take it. Well,
I'll say this because it's not what you know or what you've done or read or studied necessarily, but for me, it's the experiences that I've had. It's the mistakes that I've made that I feel confident helping other people grow their business. So when you call me a genius, I'm a little like, I don't know, but I've done a lot of things in business. We'll say, we'll keep this PG-13. I've had a lot happen to me, for me, and I'm excited to just share that wisdom with whoever it can help.
Excellent. We're going to have some fun while we do it. So thank you for being on today. Now let's go back to the origin story of What If, how you got connected, why you're doing what you're doing. Because it's one thing to know what you do. Most people don't necessarily care what we do. They care why we do the things we do. So let's go there with this story. Tell us, why do you do what you do?
Yeah, it's actually kind of two different origin stories, really. So the origin of What If is has nothing to do with me. It actually starts with my business partner who you met, Sean Delaney. Really good. He's a great guy. He's a good friend of mine at this point. We're brothers. We're attached at the hip, it seems like. But my origin story is a little bit different. So I did not come from the business consulting world. I actually had my own small business. And prior to that, I've always been involved with management of other small family-owned businesses, my dad's business included. And I had this passion for entrepreneurship and business. I went to school for business. That's a waste of time. If you're going to get a 4-year degree, just let me put that blanket statement out there. You don't need that. But fast
way to
forward,
save 4 people. Like we were able to save those people 4 years of their life. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
You see what I just did there? We're dropping wisdom bombs already. Anyway, before I get canceled here. But no, so I always loved business, and I knew I wanted to be involved in business in some capacity. And entrepreneurship was kind of just drew me in. I've ever since a young age, I was always finding ways to help people make money. Let me separate that. Help people and make money. And I was, taking care of neighbors' houses when they'd go on vacation, getting their mail, watering their flowers, like when I was 8 years old. So it's in my blood, if you will. I started my first business in my early mid 20s, I think it was. And I was just hooked. It was very hard, don't get me wrong, but I loved the idea of being able to control your own destiny to some degree and being able to kind of make the rules, right? And this is something you have heard my business partner Sean talk about, is business is really what you make it, but a lot of people tend to think there are other people's rules assigned to the game of business. And that's just something I kind of gravitated to early on, because I don't take direction very well from other people. And that's, maybe that's a bad thing. Maybe it's a good thing. I don't know. TBD on that one. But I just always knew, it wasn't going to work for me in a corporate setting. I was not, because I love to question things and just say, well, why are we doing it that way? Can we do it a different way? Is there a better way? Is there a more efficient way? All these questions. And that doesn't really work in corporate America all that well. So that's kind of where I got my feet wet in business. That went great. I had a lot of wins, a lot of losses. We can dive into that story if you want. There's a whole lot to unpack there. But when I met Sean, it was when I was exiting that business. I was selling it. I was kind of tired of it. I was tired of the industry, and I wanted to just move on. And I had this idea, out of everything I've experienced out of the last 5 years running my own business and 10 years running businesses. I said, there's got to be a way for small business owners to have access to reputable knowledge and help without fearing that they're going to lose their last dollar being sold by some snake oil salesman, which I've also seen. I've seen both sides of that industry. And I approached him because I knew what he was doing. He was doing fractional COO work for the Fortune 100. I said, there was a way to put together like a fractional C-suite for people, but focus on small business owners, where it would be way more affordable because you don't need actual fractional help. You don't need someone in your business 30, 40 hours a week. You need maybe like 1 or 2 hours a week just to have really good advice and wisdom for your specific situation, but not to sell courses, because I don't know if that's hands-on enough for people. So we put together this group of people that could then go into any business, advise them for a couple hours a week, really low cost, and it could help that small business owner really win in their market. And that's where our marriage began, if you will. That was the origin of What If. We took what he was doing, we took his 25 years of experience, knowledge, and wisdom with the biggest companies in the world, and we brought that down. We married it with my experience of small business, and now we've taken that to other small businesses and entrepreneurs. And just with the passion, our mission is to really help people grow their business. But not only that, to demonstrate how it could be fun, how you could do it with joy, and how it could be easy and simple along the way. And that's what we take into every client interaction.
That's phenomenal. Now, when I said fundamentals, I love this. Focus on fun, focus on play. What are some of the ways that you've been able to inspire and encourage business owners that are in that growth phase to go and play again, to enjoy what they do, and to find that excitement rather than just stay in the lines and just do the business? Let's go and talk about fun.
Yeah, fun is honestly, it's a touchy topic for people, because depending on where you meet them in their business, it might not be fun. If
Yeah.
you're $80,000 in debt, you're weeks away from shutting the doors, like, there's not a whole lot of fun happening in that situation. And if I were to come in and say, let's just play games and have fun, come on, what's the worst that could happen? You lose your house, your car, your family? No, let's play games.
They come up
That
with a
would be
different
stupid.
F word, right? It's not fun.
Yes, and then I would be another F word, fired.
Yes.
So we're
Yes.
not going to do that. But yeah, what we want to do is figure out where people are first and foremost, because when you meet someone and I hope this is visual and audio, but anyway, if it's for those of you watching, if you're up here with your level of fun, my hands are above my head, and you're meeting someone down here, imagine my hands at my chest level. These two people are never going to interact. Like, someone's depressed, in debt, they're going to lose their business, whatever, and you come in and you're balls to the walls, for lack of a better term, and you're excited and you're happy and you just want to have fun with people. You can't talk to that person, they can't hear you. And that's something that a lot of people understand, but do we put into practice? We don't want other people to suck our joy and our fun, so we tend to stay away from them. But when you're in a capacity where you're going in to help those people and they're paying you, or not, but if you're helping them in some capacity, you need to be able for them to hear you. So that's step one. meet them where they are, evaluate where they are, and then bring them up with you. You have to have a plan and a path to do that. It can't just be throwing random ideas at them. And that's where we leverage our framework. So we first go in and we find out where people are on that emotional scale. And then we want to evaluate, what are they good at? Like, what would it be inspiring to them as an individual? It's you can't just go in and tell everybody to do the same things and use the same methodologies and techniques, because every human being is different. So we have to figure out what drives that person. The simplest shift could just be, why don't you just stop answering your emails 50 times a day and do it once a day? That could inspire fun and joy for people, because then it's not weighing on their head and they don't have to think about it until that appropriate time. So we tend to overcomplicate fun too.
Yeah.
It's clearing the way for fun to be able to present itself, rather than injecting fun into the business, into the person's life. I'll give you a great example on that exact point. We had a client, still a client actually. She's phenomenal, and her nature, her humanness, if you will, is so vibrant, and she's fun, she's effervescent, she's a beautiful human being. And she got bogged down into the weeds as the CEO of her business. She was answering emails, she was dealing with her staff all day long, she's dealing with problems all day long. Someone like that, who's so fun, effervescent, and joyful, they can't be in the weeds. She needs to be kind of floating around, seeing what's going on, observing, and not being tied down to any one situation. So the first and easiest shift that we made for her was just said, answer your emails at 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. And that's it. And the shift that made for her was enormous. And honestly, it was a little unbelievable for me. I mean, the life came back into her, because we would be on meetings like this, and I would see her looking over constantly. And I'm like, you're checking your emails, aren't you? You're looking at your inbox as new emails come in as we're talking, and the stress is piling on. So we turned off notifications. We said, you have 2 times, put them on your calendar. Don't schedule meetings then. You have email checking times, and that's it. And that first little shift allowed fun to start to creep back into her business.
I love that intentionality with your time that freed up her anxiety level to say, oh, this is when I can worry about those emails, and the rest of the time I don't have to think about it. That reminded me of earlier this week. My wife and I, we cleaned out our daughter's playroom. There were toys everywhere, right? We have these little plastic bins. And what we ended up doing was taking all those, putting them in bins, and some of the bins we didn't let them have back. And the next day, it was crazy. They hadn't been playing in there much at all the last week, because it was like toys everywhere. Just, you can imagine dollhouse toys, and you can imagine all of these blocks and Legos and everything just strewn everywhere. When we cleaned it up, the next morning, the girls came in and they just had a blast. They only played with a few different toys, and they were interacting with each other. They were laughing and giggling. And it reminded me that in business, if we are extremely cluttered, if we're trying to scale chaos, if everything is strewn everywhere and it's not in its proper place, we don't have space to play. And I think that's one of the things I take from that story about the emails is you gave her a box to put her emails in, and a space to make it very intentional on her calendar when she would do that task. And she didn't have to worry about it when she didn't have that box open. So brilliant framework. I love that. Now let's talk about Harmonious. This is not just a nice Chinese style word, right? I think of is the word harmonious, or in harmony with, because my wife, she's learning some Mandarin right now, and I teach Mandarin. So the word and is in harmony with. We don't usually use that type of a word in English that often, but harmonious is such a beautiful word and framework. And I would love you to give us the 30,000 foot overview of what Harmonious, this framework, is, so that people that have never heard of you, Brandon, can understand basically what you do.
I totally forgot that you were a word wizard, and I love that you just put that out there for me, because, well, let me ask you, can you dissect the word harmony for me? Because I think there's probably some power in what you would say based on what we do with it. And I'm no word wizard. I'll be the first. I could barely spell harmonious. It's a 10-letter word, so that's almost at the edge of my capacity.
Like, 9 to 10. All right, harmonious. Now, when I think of harmonious, I look at the Chinese word he. I brought that. He means and, or in harmony with, harmonious. If you broke that word apart, one of the parts in there is harm, HARM, right? If you don't have harmony, you take the eos out, right? And you cut that in half, you are going to be doing damage because of the split. But when you are willing to be in harmony or in conjunction, you and your business partners, you and your team, you and the people around you, suddenly that harmony is going to allow you to do things that you couldn't synergistically, because there's no way to create that type of value for someone if you aren't willing to do it together. So there's my best effort for this morning with Harmonious.
I love it. No, I think that's fantastic, because that's everything that we talk about. When you think about, what harmony is, and we use the example of music a lot. I mean, hence the word harmonious, right? But music is such a perfect example, because that's where you think most commonly of harmony. Nature is another great example, but let's focus on music for a minute. If you were to have an orchestra, if you were to have one person playing, pick any instrument, right?
Piccolo. We're going to do piccolo because it's so high and obnoxious.
Okay, you didn't have to pick that instrument. I was thinking more of like a violin or something.
Cowbell. That's it. Cowbell. We always need more cowbell.
If you have one person playing a cowbell, there's no real harmony. You have music. That's it's there. But the minute you add a second person, a second instrument, a second thing, whatever this is, you have to have harmony, or you have dissonance, like you say, harm. That's where things potentially start to break apart. That's also where magic starts to take place. When you think about this orchestra, though, as it grows, and think about this in the sense of your business, even if you're a solopreneur, there's probably a 0% chance you do all of the things in your business. So there always needs to be some type of harmony. You have a CPA to do your taxes, hopefully. Maybe you have a lawyer or someone set up your business, hopefully. You have other third-party vendors that you use if you process credit card payments. Well, you're leveraging Stripe or some other merchant processor. There needs to be harmony there. So even for the solopreneurs, this still counts. As you scale that orchestra, the more and more people you add on, you can have orchestras with 300 people in it. When you think about the Fortune 500, you could technically have orchestras with 20 million people. I don't know how big these companies are really, but you could have orchestras with 10,000, 20,000, 100,000 people in them. As long as there's one key element present, harmony, it sounds good. It doesn't break. There's no harm taking place. But what we tend to do as we scale is say, as the conductor, the business owner, I can't look at this whole orchestra. I can't manage it all at once. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to point one person to head up the violins, one person to head up the piccolos, one person to head up the cowbells, and I'm going to let them go do their thing. And before you know it, as you keep growing, they're doing the same thing within their departments and their sections. So now you have a sub piccolo chief player. You can tell I don't know anything about piccolos, but you would have, you'd have the chief violin player managing 5 other violins, and then they'd say, okay, I can't see those people down there. You 6 seats down, you manage everyone from you down, and it keeps happening over and over and over. And what happens is at that point, you as the conductor, you don't even know what's happening at that first level. You don't know what's happening at the head seats of every instrument. How could you possibly know what's happening at the 20th seat and all the way down your organization? But when you look at the way an orchestra is supposed to run, when it sounds good, how many conductors are up there conducting the orchestra? One. Always. No matter how big it is. You would never, ever see more than one conductor running an orchestra of any scale. And that's where I think we really break down the modern business model. It's a great illustration of how things break so quickly because we don't have a model. We don't have that sheet music in front of us that everyone knows to read. We're kind of all just making it up as we go. And every department head wants to do things their way and make their mark and leave their change. And that's what breaks organizations. So the harmonious architecture, as I mentioned, it is 10 letters, not by accident, because there's 10 fundamental business disciplines that must be present in every organization, from solopreneur all the way up through Nike and other Fortune 100 companies that Sean, my business partner, has worked with, these things are there, but the volume on each knob is what needs to change. And that's where we get confused as small business owners, because we go to these conferences and we hear marketing experts talk to marketers in the crowd about marketing, and they love marketing, and that's awesome. And everyone only wants to focus on marketing. And we forget that we have an organization of people. Well, have we developed our leadership? Have we developed our people management? Do we even know how to manage ourselves? Do we know how to inspire ourselves as leaders? Do we know how to run our systems and processes? We don't, because we tend to focus on only the disciplines that we like, and then we wonder why our business doesn't work. And all we're doing in that scenario is putting other conductors in charge of our own business, but without appointing them and training them. And it makes absolutely no sense. So what we do with Harmonious is, like I said, 10 fundamental disciplines. All we want to do is pare back your business, see what is the most essential in every single discipline to keep it as simple as possible so that you can run your business as it is, but then you can also scale your business without creating that dissonance, that harm, by separating things apart. The only way to have harmony is, like you said, and. There has to be an and, but it has to be intentional. And you have to do it in a way that is scalable and doesn't require your time as the business owner.
That reminded me of the analogy: you can't push a rope. When you're all pulling in harmony, or you are doing tug of war, if you will, and you're doing it with a team and all of you are moving at the same time, there is an added increase of strength that comes because you're working in harmony, because you're doing it together. Now, one of the things that popped into my mind was this idea. We talked about small business. I don't love that term because nobody wants to work for a small business, but they do want to be part of a growing business. And when you think of helping these young entrepreneurs, these newer businesses that are in that growth mode and really focused on growth and scaling, what are some of the pitfalls that you most commonly see? Maybe share 3 or 4 of those, like short little things like this is very avoidable, but something that you see consistently. What are some of those mistakes?
I always make fun of, I call it like the Charmin business model. I say less is more. And that's the most common pitfall is we think we have to have more. We have to do more in order to get more. And everything I just said is the opposite of that. We think we have to have 17 different kinds of ads, and we have to do social media, and we have to have billboards on the highway and all this other stuff. And no one ever peels back the layers to say, what's like actually the most effective thing that I'm doing? And how can I leverage my time to do more of that? Which leads me into the second one, which is managing your time. I meet very few business owners of any scale who actually manage their time intentionally. And it can look different for everybody. But what I mean when I say that is your calendar is white. And that's a dangerous place to be. I also don't subscribe to the theory that your calendar needs to be full from top to bottom, but at least block it. I mean, if you're blocking time in the morning every single day, your key work, your deep work, your CEO work, whatever you want to call it, have that time as sacred on your calendar. Often we let employees interrupt, we let meetings interrupt, we let other vendors interrupt us. And those things happen. I understand that, but to have that be a possibility every single day, you're not clearing your mind. And that which references the less is more. You have to get rid of things in order to be able to think clearly. Those are 2 really big ones. And the third one that I think is the most obvious, and especially in, I hate to say the word, but small business, we mismanage our finances, and we don't have a hold on our finances. We just, we see what's in the bank account. That's awesome. We can use that. Then we spend that. And then we're like, well, now I have no more left. So I need to go get more of that. And we don't use money as a tool. It's this measuring stick. We think about money and finances and cash flow in all of the wrong ways. I've seen that so many times, and that causes more stress on an entrepreneur than I care to mention, but I'm sure everybody has felt that at some point. I know I have. I'm not immune to this. But those 3 things I see most often that will absolutely put you into chaos and eventually put you out of business.
Excellent. I know there's tons more mistakes we could discuss, but one
There's
of
not
the
enough
things,
time in the
there's
day.
not
Is
enough time
all.
in the day. I was just reminded of the first day that we met when we went to that science museum in Seattle, and there was this water feature, and the water feature
Mm.
had a wheel, and people had to be on the wheel and run, and it would scoop up some water, and then at the top it would dump it. And we're like, this is exactly like the rat race. And I want to get your take on how you help people escape the rat race through business ownership.
Yeah, we probably shouldn't share everything we were saying about that wheel publicly.
Probably shouldn't, but we're going to keep it PG. It was
We
not
are.
inappropriate, but it was definitely pretty funny.
Let's just say we were talking a lot about the government,
Yeah.
and our opinion of paying taxes. But anyway, if you want to know more about that, leave a comment or DM us. We'll get back to you on that.
Yeah.
But no, so this is huge, right? It's I think of movies like The Matrix. You brought up the rat race, the common examples of how we don't even know what we don't know, and we can't see our circumstances because we're so far into it
Mm.
that it just feels normal. And you get to this point as a business owner where you start working 30 hours a week when you start your business. You're like, this is cool. There's not that much to do. And then you do 40, and then you do 50, and then you do 90. And you're like, hang on. Some people don't wake up when they get to 90, and they think it's fun, air quotes, and they love it. That's awesome. But you and me both have kids. We have wives, and they for sure don't think daddy working 90 hours a week is fun.
Right. And just to
And
be clear, I only have one wife, even though my name is Brigham. One wife, right? So I had to throw that out there.
If we're
Yes, yes.
clarifying, I too only have one wife.
Gotta have fun, right? You play with those. That's fun. So
yeah, don't tell my wife I only have one. Let's keep her on her toes. But yes.
Oh, okay. Excellent. Excellent.
So we get in this situation. We find ourselves in the rat race because then we think, okay, if I work harder, I'm going to get more. I'm going to get more money. And what was that wheel is the perfect example. So if you could picture that in your head, whether you're watching or listening, the faster you spin that wheel, the more water you dump on top of the wheel. Guess where the water never went? Inside the wheel. And that's what we miss as business owners, because we go harder and harder and faster and faster. And we get to this point where the wheel is spinning so fast, but we are still the one moving the wheel. Mm-hmm. And until you get off of the wheel and you have it running itself, you are still in the rat race. You are still trapped in your business. And that's one of the key things that we need our clients to understand from day one is, I don't care how important you think you are. I don't care how special you think you are. You need to get off the wheel. You need to empower other people to run this wheel for you, and to also not stress them out at the same time. It's this, I don't even know what we call it, but it's this syndrome where we think as the business owners, we're the only ones that can do everything in the business. And you're right to some degree. You're the only one that is willing to do all the things in your business. No other idiot on the face of the planet would do as much as you do for as little pay as you do, because you're overworked and underpaid. And I'm saying that again because I've been there. I was there several years ago. That's what sparked me on this journey. So when we work with people, the first 90 days, our focus is, regardless of why you come to us, if you want more leads, if you want more money, if you want to grow your business, if you want to sell your business, I don't care. The first thing I'm doing is getting you 50% of your time back in that first 90 days. Because until you separate that math equation of I need to work more to get more and take yourself out of that, you'll always be on this rat race. So that's our biggest priority is breaking that mindset. But it's ingrained in us. It's from society. It's how we're built. We go to school, we sit in line, we sit at a desk, we raise our hand to ask questions. And we're kind of getting into that rat race or that wheel conversation we had at the Science Center, which I don't want to cross that line, but
right.
It's not your fault that that's your mindset. It is your responsibility to take hold of it and break it if you actually want to grow your business and get off the rat race of life.
Beautiful. Now, when I think of this wheel, a lot of times people think I have to go be the professional. I have to be a doctor. I have to be a lawyer to be able to make a lot of money. But with that visual, it scoops up the water at the bottom and then it dumps it at the top. And there's no reservoir at the bottom to catch it for the person in the wheel. So think about it this way. Here's another way we can conceptualize this. If you guys haven't heard this example, hopefully this is helpful. Have you ever played Monopoly, but when you play, you don't buy any assets, you just avoid going to jail, and every time you pass go, you're excited, but you never spend your money on anything that can put wealth back in your pocket recurringly? How many people in our life around us are consistently going around that game board without buying any assets or creating an economic engine where they aren't the key indicator? They aren't the person in the wheel running. That's another way to think about what Brandon said. And I think part of this is realizing that you don't have to be that mouse in the rat race. You can step out and you can say it like this. This is my friend Eric Counts. He said, if you don't want to be tied to a desk, find someone that wants to be tied to that desk willingly. You have to have that job get done in your business to function. Find someone that loves doing it and will gladly accept money for their time, and then let them help you create your dreams. And when we talk about dreams, this is something that Greg brings up with me all the time. It's not that as an entrepreneur, you're the only one that you want to be building your dreams for. The more people you can help get what they want, the better chance you have of getting everything that you want. So Brandon, what is an example of a dream that you had from a client or from someone in your circle of influence that you were able to help them achieve their dream? Because one of the only things anyone ever needs to know about us is how other people that have interacted with us have been able to see those results and been able to have those results. So tell us a success story.
I'll give you two quickly. I'll give you a success and I guess a quote unquote failure, but that actually turned out to be a success. And the only reason I want to go down that path is because that's actually where most people end up finding themselves, but it's not a bad thing. So let me give you the success story quickly, and then I'll give you the lesson. We had one client who, as a matter of fact, it was same one as the email example before. We've been working with her for a while, and when we first met, it was very hard to step away from the business confidently and not check that inbox on the phone, right? Like constantly be just checking emails, checking in with the team. And only after a few months was she able to go on vacations, go on even conferences, like still for business conferences, but not be worried that the whole thing was going to fall apart. And a lot of people would get caught up in saying, like, is that a dream? Like, you didn't help her get a private jet. You didn't help her get a boat and take her family to St. Bart's for 7 months at a time. Like, those could be dreams. But what I find is most small business owners are in the place where they just want to not worry about tomorrow. And that in and of itself is accomplishing a dream, which enables you to dream and see the next step. Most of us don't want jets. Most of us don't even need jet. Why would you need a jet? They're very expensive to maintain. Like, just take that off your bucket list. You don't need that. Go get a private, rent one. Don't buy one. Anyway, but we don't need that. We just need the peace of mind that comes with knowing your business isn't going to fail overnight if you're not there. And that was able to happen for her. And now, I mean, you could visually see it. Like when we have meetings, she sits differently. She talks differently. She talks to her team differently. They talk to her differently. It's absolutely magical to see that transformation from the constant stress. And I guarantee you, if you're in that state, you don't even know it, which is the scariest part. Your doctor knows it before you know it. And it's a very, very scary place to be, because you've gotten to a place where you just think that's normal. And it's really not. It's not healthy. It's not normal. And there is another side. There is a peaceful side of running a business. But I'll tell you about the other example too, because this is actually what I find most commonly in talking to entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, most of the time. We were working with this person. I won't use any names. I'll try not to use genders either, just to keep it ultra safe here. But we were working with this person, and they came to the realization that they didn't actually need to own a business or be an entrepreneur to accomplish their dreams. And what they ended up doing was going back and getting a job. But they found what was right for them. They found the things that they were really good at and they loved doing, the people who are willing to be tied to the desk. And it freed them, because they thought the only way to accomplish their dreams and have the financial income that they wanted and have the version of success that they wanted and that they wanted to portray to their family and their kids was to run a business, to grind it out and be an entrepreneur, whatever that means these days. And it actually wasn't. And that was a freeing moment for this person. And they were, same thing, they were so relieved. There was, the tension was gone immediately, because they saw that the world says you have to be an entrepreneur to accomplish your dreams. My argument is you have to get clear on your dreams and then figure out what it's going to take to accomplish them, because it's different for everybody. And who am I, who is Brigham to tell you this is the one path to get there? Find your dreams first and then find the path that feels right for you and go chase that path.
Beautiful. You know, my grandpa, he used to say, imagination is a place. When you think about going to your dream state, to your imagination land, nobody can tell you what your dream is, but you can discover it if you are willing to go there and live in that space. You know, one of the things that George Bryant, he's been on my podcast a handful of times, he talks about this framework of not just going to this place of dream and to experience it, but to add texture to your dreams, to think about them in a way that allows you to see them, feel them, touch them, and to create that data. And then your dream isn't an idea until you've also stepped out of that, completely had a shift in your state. You come back to that dream and you say, now, how could we make this a possibility, make this a reality? And then you put as many things as you possibly can on that list to make that dream a reality. And you have to step out, completely change your state again. And then you come back, and as a critic or as a protector, you say, now, where are the deficiencies? Where are the things that I didn't see? Where are the holes in the bucket that I need to plug? That framework absolutely blew my mind when I heard it the first time. Hearing George attack it that way was so simple. And I think any one of us, if we don't have a clear idea of where we want to go, we don't have a destination, it's just like the Cheshire Cat talking to Alice in Wonderland. When she comes up and says, where should I go? He says, where do you want to go? She says, I don't know. I don't know where I want to go. And it doesn't really much matter, does it? That is part of what we're talking about today. Set a clear intention of where you want to go. Decide what that could look like. Make your plan. Set your time. Block it out in the way that you're talking about. I think is excellent. And then figure out where are the deficiencies. And sometimes it's not a matter of how. I think Greg says this beautifully. He says, how is the tyranny of the mind? Don't worry about how. The only way you know how is if you've already done it or you talk to somebody that's done it. You're mixing up the important words. You say, who has done this? Who can I talk to? Who has a framework? Who has a way that I can go and connect in a way that lets me see what's possible? Like Brandon, he is amazing at helping people get in harmony in their business. If that's a who that you need in your life, you got to connect with him. I'm grateful we got an opportunity to connect today. And in the last moments that we have together, Brandon, I want to tap into you and ask, what is one piece of encouragement that you want to give to a growing business owner, someone that may be struggling, that just needs that little nudge to make everything feel like it's going to work today? What would that piece of encouragement be for you? And you can even say this as if you were talking to yourself 5 or 6 years ago.
You stole what I usually say, is it's who, not how. I always say that. That was the shift that made me grow my first business. I was trying to do it on my own, working the 80 hours a week, and I was the smartest one, and I could figure out all the answers. And the minute I contacted someone who had been there, done that, grown a massive business in that industry, and paid him as a mentor, my business grew nearly overnight. And I was like, that was so dumb. that I wasted the last 12 months suffering in anguish for no reason. Like, he told me 3 things to do and it cured everything. Imagine going to a doctor and, you know, you have all these symptoms and they give you this pill and you take it for 3 weeks and you feel better.
Like,
That could be the case. Like, just start looking for the who. It won't be easy, but every single time, I guarantee it, it is simple. We've just overcomplicated it. So if you're in that situation, I love the who, not how. I'm a full supporter of that. But I guarantee you are overcomplicating the problem. Get crystal clear on the problem or problems, because there's probably more than one, and then attack that problem with the people who you know can also or have solved that problem in the past in their business. That's by far the best advice that you will ever receive from myself or anyone else, is if they tell you how to fix a problem and they haven't had it, do not listen. Please run away. But if you know someone who has your same problem or situation and they've been on the other side of it now, just go talk to them.
Beautiful sentiment. Thank you so much, Brandon, for being on the show today and for sharing open-heartedly, having some fun. And man, I just feel so grateful for the opportunity we had to connect today. Guys, how can people find you online and let them know the easiest way to connect with you?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me too. This is a lot of fun. I always love talking business. I could do this for days on end. But if you find yourself in that situation, you are having a problem, you want to see what the problem is. Most people actually don't know where exactly the problem is in their business. So we have a tool to help you uncover that. It'll take you 8 minutes to do. It's at whatif.com. I'm sure that'll be in show notes or somewhere down below. Otherwise, show notes, perfect. Don't connect with me. I'm not on social media. I'm terrible at social media. So if you want to connect with me, send me like a carrier pigeon or something, and I'll definitely respond. But if you send me a message or follow me or whatever, I don't post on social media. I sometimes check my DMs, and I'm kind of a hermit. So if you want to talk business, go take the assessment first, and then we'll chat about your business. Otherwise, I'm gonna go be in my hobbit hole and drinking some coffee.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Brandon, for all you do, and excited to see where this next chapter of life goes for both of us. So congratulations on another successful episode and another great day to level up. Guys, I love to say this. I hope that you have a blessed day and that some of the things that you heard today will help you get into action and to level up your life, your business, your mindset, your skill set, and go do what that little tickle you got in the back of your head. You're like, oh, I wonder if that would work. I bet it will. So go try it. God bless.